My name is Chris Sturhan. Welcome to another episode of Drinks from Eddie Muller's Noir Bar. Each week I take a chapter from the book Eddie Muller's Noir Bar, Cocktails Inspired by the World of Film Noir, and I talk about the film in that chapter and I make the drink associated with that film. Today we are going to talk about the film, The Maltese Falcon, and make the drink the Hammett Martini. Now, The Maltese Falcon was released in 1941. It was written and directed by John Huston. It was his directorial debut. It was based on a novel of the same name by Dashiell Hammett, hence the Hammett Martini. It's said that the first draft of the screenplay for The Maltese Falcon, John Huston just had his secretary type up the novel as a screenplay. The novel had been adapted 2 times earlier in rather forgettable movies. So I think Huston was onto something when he thought, we just need to put the novel on film. It's generally regarded as the first film noir. It has a great cast. Humphrey Bogart plays a private detective, Sam Spade, and he is looking for an object, the Maltese Falcon, a black bird from the Middle Ages that is worth a lot of money. It's a perfect MacGuffin. It's the thing that all the people are after, but the audience doesn't care, as Alfred Hitchcock would say, who coined the term MacGuffin. Actually, Hitchcock had nothing to do with this film, but the Maltese Falcon as a thing is the perfect MacGuffin. It's just a plot device that the people are all after and how much they want that thing. So you have Humphrey Bogart. He was just coming into his own as a star. He'd made some very good films and was now being treated as a real star. But this film really kind of cemented him as a huge star. It also stars Mary Astor. Now, Mary Astor had kind of a checkered career. Her career goes back into the silent era. She was married and divorced several times, which that alone was enough to kind of haunt her with scandal. But what really did it was she had an extramarital affair with playwright George Kaufman. And she had always kept diaries her whole life, and she apparently wrote about it in her diary. So when she got a divorce, her husband stole her diary and attempted to use it against her in the divorce proceedings and the child custody battle. It was actually never used as evidence in court because the husband tried to rip out pages and forge things to make him look better. So they never actually used it, but they talked about it a lot, and certain bits of it got into the press, and that almost destroyed her career. But for John Huston and the character of Bridget O'Shaughnessy that Mary Astor is playing, that was kind of a good thing. So having somebody that had a scandalous reputation actually worked in her favor and the film's favor and John Huston's favor. It is the first film starring Sidney Greenstreet, and it also stars Peter Lorre. Now, Sidney Greenstreet and Peter Lorre had such good chemistry that they were often paired together. They, I think, appeared in 9 different films, and I don't think either one of them could necessarily carry a film by themselves, but as a pair they could, and there were at least 2 or 3 films that they made together where they were the stars of those films. It also has one of my favorite actors from the era, Elijah Cook Jr. He plays the Gunsel. Now, the Gunsel, it's not his character's name, it's what Humphrey Bogart calls him often during the film. I've always assumed that Gunsel was kind of a slang term for gunman, but I just read in IMDb that a Gunsel is actually a Yiddish term, which means little goose. And there's another Yiddish term, Fagel, which is little bird, which is a derogatory term for homosexuals. So there may be a little bit of that connotation in the term. Also, in the underworld, Gunsel was a term that meant fall guy or stool pigeon. So I think there was a lot of nuances to that term that audiences aren't aware of, and definitely the censors were not aware of. Um, just a great, great film. It does, if you've ever read the novel, it does follow the novel very closely. One of my favorite things about this movie is that it has great lines of dialogue, and many of those lines came verbatim right out of the book. The Hammett Martini. This is a variant of the regular martini. It uses vodka, but it introduces rum as well, and it substitutes Benedictine for vermouth. Now, Eddie very rarely recommends a particular brand of spirits, but in this case he does. He's recommending Stolichnaya vodka, which I had to buy airline bottles because my wife drinks vodka, and she wanted to. I didn't want to buy another bottle of vodka when we already live in a pretty vodka-rich environment at our house. It calls for Bacardi rum. Eddie says that probably what would have been drunk at that time when Dashiell Hammett was making this drink was probably Bacardi Superior white rum, but he recommends Bacardi Ocho, 8-year aged Bacardi, and I went and have a friend, Christopher, who lent me enough for just a couple of drinks so that I could do that, since I've already bought 3 bottles of rum doing these videos. So this is a stirred drink, so we're going to start with our stirring glass and some ice. Okay, and we need 2.5 ounces of our Stoli. Okay, so that would be 1.5, and one, just quite a bit of booze. And then we need we need 3/4 of an ounce of our Bacardi Ocho. And there you go. And then our Benedictine. Now, Benedictine is a liqueur that I really wasn't familiar with. I bought a bottle. I've only tried it once. And that was a month ago, and I don't really remember what it was. So I looked it up. It says it's a delicate balance of honey, warm spices, citrus, stone fruits, and herbs, which means I still don't know what this stuff really tastes like. It turns out stone fruits, which I had to look up as well, are things like peaches, plums, apricots, mangoes, anything with a big stone in the middle. So we're only using 1/4 ounce of this. So there we go. There is our Benedictine. And then we are stirring. Now for stirred drinks, the idea is just to chill the drink without introducing a lot of air in it, which shaking will do. And you usually do that with drinks that have a whole lot of spirits. And considering this is all spirits and has a whole lot of vodka and quite a bit of rum, and then our Benedictine. So we're going to strain this into our chilled coupe glass. Alrighty. And for our garnish, we have a lemon peel. So I'm going to twist that over the thing and rub the oils on the rim. And here we go. Wow. You would not, okay, I started to say you would not know there's a lot of booze in it, but on the back end you get the booze. But when it first hits your mouth, it tastes interesting. Wow, that kind of builds and becomes stronger as it hits you. Next week, we are going to look at the film Force of Evil and The Drink, The Blacklist, or Blacklisted, don't quite remember. So, from a booth in the back of Eddie Muller's Noir Bar, I'm going to say cheers, and we will see you next time. Cheers.